This is a little weekly or every other weekly review of books that we have especially appreciated. And this week, I think we have three books. And so Marie will talk about, what are you talking about today?
So today we have the Dangerous Journey by Oliver Hunkin, Architecture Shown to the Children by Gladys Wynne, and The Laws Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling, written by John Muir Laws. Okay, so let's get started. The first book, we'll go through Dangerous Journey. So to put this in context, we have an 8-year-old, and we tend to do chronological history and literature for the most part. It's a loosely held structure, but this structure has had a lot of benefits. We've done it with our oldest, and we're going to continue. Chronological, right. So right now we're
really
working
to make sense of things like coherently.
Right, and to see the progression, especially in literature, and how later works build on earlier works.
Right. And the connections between the literature and history.
Exactly. So in 17th century, John Bunyan wrote the Pilgrim's Progress in 1678, or 1676. He began it. I think it was published in 1678. We can double check that. Anyhow, we weren't reading the original. We were reading a picture book called Dangerous Journey, which is a retelling by Oliver Hunkin. It's actually a pretty long, pretty substantial picture book. So I would recommend it. Around 8 for children. It also has the pictures are really great, but really nicely done. But they are pretty scary. So you just want to check it out if you're thinking for younger students and children. But it is a really good book overall. The story is good, obviously, and the retelling works really well. The other thing that's really nice about it is an allegory, so the characters are named what they are, right? So you'll meet Mr. Pliable, you'll see the citizens of the city of destruction, they are going, and Christian, the main character, is going to the celestial city, and you'll go to the castle of despair and meet the giant who lives there as well, all along the way. So you can explain what an allegory is, which is nice and fairly unique for a book. They understand it, right?
Experience it.
Exactly. So that is pretty unique for picture books. I've read a lot of picture books, and I have not seen an actual allegory in picture book form. So and especially if you're going to be doing the literature chronologically, this one fits in quite nicely. The next one I wanted to talk about was one that we've been working through for actually a number of months at this point. But we've been doing it slowly. And this is Architecture Shown to the Children by Gladys Wynne. It's there's a new publication from New West Press, which I highly recommend. And this book, we've been going through it. It covers Greek and Roman, and also primarily Greek and Roman architecture, all the different forms of Roman architecture too. And it goes through all of the styles really in actually a fairly high degree of detail. Like you're going to get a pretty good picture of what the types are, and what the elements you'd see in those pieces are. And the nice thing about it is it has both pictures of buildings and a lot of figures, figure drawings, so that you can get a good idea, even if you live in America where there are where there's maybe not a Norman castle or a Gothic cathedral down the block.
It starts in ancient Greece, right? And you have
it starts in ancient Greece. Yep.
And they have all of these illustrations.
Right.
You also have a good discussion on the medieval architectures, the Gothic, the Romanesque. And I know that it's pretty good because Thomas was talking about different styles. He's observed different styles spontaneously, including on furniture that he has observed. So he recognized different Greek styles and different furniture pieces. So it's obviously effective at teaching through illustrations and discussion the different architectural styles that are also useful for furniture.
Right. And I think one thing I wanted to mention and how we've been using it is in addition to very short readings, and it's very conducive to that because it's broken up into pretty pretty small pieces. Not the chapters are longer, but they have little subsections within them. The other way we've been doing it is for drawings, it has lots of nice figures in it. So we've occasionally picked out one that was really of special interest, and they have done drawings of that figure.
So that's a great way to observe the details of the different styles that they are discussing and they're featuring, and it gives the students opportunities really to notice carefully and to internalize what characterizes this style or that style.
Right. And the third book is one that I have not read all of yet. It's partly because it's more of a reference book, but this is the Law's Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling, written by John Muir Laws. And I have I've listened to things that he's presented and so forth before, so I'm generally familiar with a lot of his work. But this book does a really nice job of helping to get your nature journal practice kick it into gear, right? It's a lot of practical tips and practical applications of how you might want to go about doing doing a nature journal. It's not a step-by-step necessarily, but it's got a lot of good information and a lot of good little exercises, things to think about as you're going outside with your colored pencils and your watercolors and your journal in order to observe carefully. And I think that's really the crux of it.
Carefully.
Right, is that he highlights the importance of careful observation, and careful thinking about what you're looking at too. And it's very nicely done. It's nice to have techniques to try out and experiment with, and he does highlight those. He has a section on materials, which is also the stuff of your nature journal kit, which is also nice. Gird your pocketbooks at that point, but he's got a lot of practical things and good practices and ways to to sort of inject new energy into the nature journal practice, which I think it is sometimes easy to sort of shove to the back burner and forget that you should be doing that too.
Yeah, so this is actually a really worthwhile thing to do, to develop in kids, to develop in students, especially young students, a really keen sense of observation and also practicing the skill of recording that observation by hand, noticing how you try to represent either in pencil or in color what you observe. And it's a great way to develop more and more refined concentration in work, and also a general calmness, right? For a sustained focus on drawing something that's perhaps not striking in the first instance, but is in its, if you pay attention, something really beautiful. And we have that all around where we live. The natural beauty is all around us, and so it is a good thing for kids to be immersed in, or to have the opportunity to do.
I think also one of the things is the emphasis on watercolors. It's not a strict emphasis on watercolors, but watercolors are actually a good thing for, I think, especially smaller children to sort of the middle school age to kind of wrestle with, because they are not always super easy to control exactly. So I think that having that piece of it is also very helpful and a good thing to include.
And compared to other things, it's as far as equipment goes, relatively straightforward, nothing complicated technologically. It's good to get back to those basic tools.